WitchBookTube, and today we're doing a recap of all of the March reviewed books. I read 4 books in March, so we've got 4 books to cover in no particular order. I'm just grabbing them off the pile, but it was Hoodoo, Honey, and Sugar Spells, Practical Sigil Magic, because you know I'm still on a kick with the sigils, 12 Faces of the Goddess, and then the last, or I think it was the last book of March that I reviewed was Sigils, Ciphers, and Scripts. So let's go through really quick, or not so quick, let's just go through them. I actually enjoyed all 4 of these books, which I'm really excited for, and I recommend all 4 of these books. So Hoodoo, Honey, and Sugar Spells by Deacon Millett. Small, easy read, but really chock full of information, really focused on honey and sugar jar spells. I love this book because of the history. I love this book because it gave me cultural context for hoodoo, which is something that a lot of us confuse with voodoo and other traditions. This is a very specific tradition to African Americans who are descendants of the slavery experience. So for any of you who were ever curious about what hoodoo is, definition is in here. It gives you context, gives you spells. It's also chock full of links to a website called luckymojo.com with a lot of information on hoodoo. So I love this book because A, it was easy to read. It gave me a lot of cultural context that I did not know about. It defined hoodoo root work and conjure work, which I think is really important since it's something that's really showing up a lot in social media and people have a lot of questions about it. But it also has links to this website that has a plethora of information on all of this, which I think is a really great resource for people to check out. So there you go. The next book that I covered in March, or reviewed in March, was Practical Sigil Magic by Frater UD. Because you know, you guys, if you've been following anything, that I'm like on a huge sigil kick. And I actually have, I don't know, I think I have 2, maybe 3 more books on sigils that I will read in a few months. I don't want to, I probably should just dive deep and do the 3 sigil books or 2 sigil books that I have, but I want some variety and there are other books that are calling to me. This book is actually pretty popular. It talks about 4 different methods of creating sigils and how to do that. In that sense, this book was fantastic. I'm going to link the review to this book down below with all the other reviews actually, but I had some issue with how to activate the sigils, and I'll let you go into the review video to kind of get more information on that. But other than that, I really like this book because it's very informative. It gives you the spare method, and I don't know if it's spar or spare, the spare method that Laura Tempest Zakroff spoke about in her book that we reviewed in February, where she mentioned it, and her work is not that, but it was in contrast to this work. And the spare method is a word method, and this book talks about how to use that, how to create sigils based on that. It talks about the mantric method, the pictorial method. Really helpful. Like, this information is really helpful, but at times the book is a little challenging to get through because of just the writing and the way he throws in historical references that he doesn't go into depth into, so it leaves you a little confused, like, was I supposed to know who he's talking about? Was I not? So there are some challenges about this book, for sure. It was not necessarily an easy read to get through. There are parts of it that you need to slog through, but the information on how to create sigils in these different forms was really helpful, and I thought that it was worth it enough to recommend the book to buy. Just understand what you're getting yourself into. So the review to this book will be linked down below as well. There it is. I liked it. Again, I liked it, but it was problematic. So there's that. The next book, and again, this was in no particular order because I actually think that this was the first book that I reviewed in March, was The 12 Faces of the Goddess by Danielle Blackwood, Transforming Your Life with Astrology, Magic, and the Sacred Feminine. I loved it. It was such a beautiful book. It combined archetypes with astrology in a way that I think is very helpful for people. It gives you some great meat to each of the astrological signs with meditations on working with each of the astrological signs, even though one of those signs may not be one of yours. Do you know what I mean? So it gives us the opportunity to work with each astrological sign, regardless of what our personal signs are, with lessons and things that are applicable to our own personal transformation. Loved it, recommended it. It is definitely a meaty book. I don't remember now how long it took me to read through it, but it is a meaty book, but I mean, it was worth it. It flows really well. Her writing was great. Her and I follow each other now, I think, on Facebook, Goodreads. I don't know if she's on Instagram, which seems to be like the place where I love hanging out because I just love Instagram and I'm not necessarily a fan of Facebook anymore. But what I can find of her, I will link also down below. And then lastly, for the month of March, was M.B. Jackson's Sigils, Ciphers, and Scripts, History and Graphic Function of Magical Symbols. So this book, super thin, chock full with a lot of historical information on magical symbols throughout history. I don't know if the glare is probably crazy out here. I will also link this review below. I like this book for those of you who are really interested into the meaty history of occultic symbols and scripts. Boom. This gives you a great, I called it like a Cliff Note version, or maybe like, I don't want to say a dummy's guide, but I love, you know those books like the Dummy's Guide to Yoga, the Dummy's Guide to Sigils, although I don't think that book actually exists. I loved those books because it gives you this huge summary of a specific topic that for me always served as a really detailed outline of different things to dive deeper into. I love books like that for that reason, and I feel like this is that, where each page is literally a new different type of sigil, cipher, script, or seal, right? But you can take this information, which seems like just one page, not a lot. There's a lot of information going on this page that you can then take and dive into a whole branch of study from. So if that kind of thing turns you on, I recommend this book for you. If you are really looking for books that help you take your practice and your spirituality deeper, this is not that book. So that's the caveat with this book. Again, I will link down below, but take it or not, depending on what you're interested in. And I think that's it. That's it for March. March was actually a really great month for reading for me because I don't even remember where we went, because you know we're just nomadic people, but we were on road trips back and forth from somewhere to somewhere. I don't remember now where. I have to look at my diary. But being in the car gave me an opportunity to read for a very, very long time, which I thought was fantastic. So it gave me a chance to get through these books and a few others that I'll be reviewing in the next few weeks. Yeah, I enjoyed March. It was really great. I'd love to hear what you thought. I want to remind you all that on the YouTube channel, when you go to the main channel page, on the top there's like a little link for discussion section. I opened that up so that if you want to have discussions about books there, I want for you to have as many opportunities to connect as possible, so that's open as well. As always, keep sending me your recommendations. I am almost becoming greedy over the fact that my to be read list is massive, and I know that that sounds ridiculous, but I'm just excited. The more I do this, the more excited I get for the next book and the next book and the next book. And I probably have an addiction, and I'm completely okay and not sorry about that. I love it. So keep the recommendations coming. Tonight, I mentioned this in another video, but tonight I'm actually going to be doing the Deep Dive Gathering online call for those of you who are subscribed to the box or bought that specific box. Tonight is a Sigil Witchery box, but I wanted to make sure, because people are really like, what is this deep dive? I don't know what you're talking about. You said something about a video, but I'm not finding the deep dive video on YouTube. So let me really quickly explain that to you. And I should probably do a little blurby video about this individually, but I'll do it here and then I'll do it there later. The Deep Dive Gathering is a monthly online gathering where we come together and talk specifically about the contents of that month's box, deeper magic that can be done with the items in that box, and then answering questions for those of you who received the box or bought either because you were subscribed or because you bought the box as an individual box. So only those people who have that specific box are invited to be part of the deep dive call. It is not open for others. It is also a private video in that only those who were invited get the link for the private video. That's partly because it's an add-on value to the box, but also because people will be speaking and some of you choose to interact with me through video, so your face is there. So it's a private thing, right? It's only available to those who were invited, and the video is kept private and only available to those who have that link. And in order to have that link, you need to have subscribed to the box or bought that specific box as an individual box, if that makes any sense. So tonight we're doing that, and I'm really excited because every time I have an opportunity to hang out with you guys, I'm super excited to do that, and I really appreciate that you even show up. Thank you. I will certainly see you all on Instagram and on Facebook and on the website. Have a wonderful week. I really appreciate you all showing up, and we will talk soon. Bye.